Hey, Coupley Fit fam. Welcome back to another episode of the Coupley Fit podcast, where we talk all things health, mindset, and marriage.
If you're sitting on the couch right now looking for motivation, this episode is for you.
Woo, we are talking about discipline today. And is there a myth that motivation is more important than discipline? We're going to see. But we think that discipline wins every time.
Absolutely. I agree. I think that discipline, it's those behaviors, it's those daily habits, it's the little things that sometimes we don't want to do, but it makes a difference.
Absolutely. So let's get into why motivation is overrated. First off, motivation is emotional. It's purely about how we feel. It's tied to your mood, your energy, the environment that you're in. And really, when we think long-term about motivation, it's unreliable.
Yeah, you're not going to have it every day. I think
At
people
all.
have this idea that even someone that's inspired, your most inspiring people, your most motivating, they don't wake up every day motivated.
No.
They don't, but they can rely on the discipline, the habits, the routine, the things that you put into place to help you bridge the gap when you don't want to do it or when you don't feel motivated.
Yes. And to your point, I know something even for you, right? There is a reason why you have motivational videos or motivational quotes, right? It is to kind of cater to that mood or the energy that you might be feeling. But as we know, our energy is fleeting. Like we can one day feel like I'm energized, I'm ready to go, I'm feeling so motivated, and literally the next day just say, I'm not motivated to do anything.
100%. And to that point, I think every day I listen to a YouTube motivational video. A lot of times it's a mix between a David Goggins, it's different inspiring leaders that can give that extra oomph. Because sometimes you wake up and it's 5 a.m, 6 a.m, or going to the gym or getting ready for a meeting, and you're like, I could take the day off.
I could take the day off. Oh my gosh. And again, I think also too, if we're talking about motivation being tied to your mood, energy, and environment, let's really think about where we are in the world today, right? Like our moods, and really our leader of the country, his mood is fleeting. It is not necessarily linear or has a cadence to it. You don't know what you're getting into. So now you have to really rely on, okay, what is discipline and what does that really mean?
And speaking of that too, just with everything going on right now, we were on a flight recently and going through the airport, and the amount of military personnel that we saw gearing up, getting ready, leaving their families, people getting dropped off at the airport in full military uniform because they're getting ready to either deploy or get prepared for what's going on. And I think to that exact point, like when there is so much uncertainty and chaos, different things happening, it's easy to not be motivated and be like, I don't know what's coming next.
Absolutely. So let's get into what discipline really means. It's about doing what needs to be done, even when we don't feel like doing it.
I'm going to give a perfect example. Yesterday, I woke up and I was like, you know what? I would love to play some Madden right now.
Yes.
Like just all day, maybe.
Right.
All day. Just me, dynasty mode. Like we're playing Madden all day. Did I turn the game on? I don't think so. Just because we had other things going on, right? Work, meetings, all of the stuff. But that was a little decision that made a big difference because I would have been way off of my routine, what I wanted to get accomplished. I'm sure you wouldn't have been very, very pleased with me if I would have been on the game all day when we had other things going on.
Absolutely. And when you really think about it, right, how many things need to get done, and you have this laundry list, right, of gosh, I have to do this for the house or professionally or even as a parent, and we're not going to always feel like doing it. So this is really when that discipline comes into play. And discipline is really it's a muscle that you have to train. It's not a mindset, where you can even say when it comes to motivation, some would say it's tied to your mindset. But really, when we talk about discipline, it is a muscle that has to constantly be exercised and worked out. But another way that you can reframe is that discipline equals self-respect in action.
When we start approaching it like that, when you start talking about that self-respect. I said I was going to do this. Yes. I told myself I was going to accomplish this, or that I was going to get this done today. I'm going to hold myself to it.
Yes.
Despite what I may feel. I'm going to hold myself
accountable.
Despite what I might get invited to do, what may be on TV, the game that might be on, whatever that is, no, I've got this that I need to get accomplished.
Yes.
And it's a lot easier said than done because it is a tough decision. It is a lot of times even a sacrifice or an adjustment because there's always other things that come up or even distractions.
Yes. It's really, and what I loved about that is that it's self-respect. You really are respecting yourself, your wishes, what needs to get done in order to move forward or just really cultivate that muscle of discipline.
And you got to say no a lot too, right? Like,
You
I
do.
think that gets overlooked a lot of times, but you're not going to be able to go to every party, every invite, every
Right.
event, or even just like take every call, different things. Like, there will be moments where it's like, hey, you got to understand, I literally have to get this accomplished, or I got to circle back with you after I finish.
Yes. And even, I'm sure most people right now, they, Coupley Fit name and, couples fitness is what we've also heard over the years, but discipline also when it comes to your health and wellness, right? Like that's something that can correlate to where you have to go to the gym to build that muscle. And the more that you go, the stronger you're going to get. So the more that you build those small acts of discipline, the stronger you're going to get. And it's going to be easier to say those no's, right? Or it's going to be easier to say, hey, this is something I need to do. So I'm going to respect myself and what I said I was going to do. And I'm going to have to turn this down, or I'm going to have to, just make other accommodations.
And there are always different areas to that point that you made, especially when you talk about health and wellness, of the areas of opportunity. Because I just think about, for me, like having discipline around going to the gym and getting active, like I've got that down. Like I would say that
Check.
I check that box. Having discipline about snacking at nighttime, that popcorn or something while I'm watching TV, or just like literally mindless eating.
Yes.
That's something that I can work on. It's an area of opportunity.
Yes.
But if I can, again, you make those adjustments or be able to, whether it's build accountability or have those check-in reminders. Sometimes it's not even, can't bring Oreos in the house or different things like that, because it's either, if you're snacking on those, right, slippery slope.
Slippery slope. But again, right, you can reframe that to say that this is how I respect myself.
Yes.
And also respect my goals, right? Like I set this goal, I want to accomplish this goal, and by me doing these steps, I'm going to be able to get there, but it is going to take discipline to do that. Yeah. So let's talk about how to build discipline, right? Like it's easy to talk about it, but how do I actually build that muscle? So one way to do that is to start with micro habits. You were just talking about the snacking, right? These are going to be small wins that build momentum and reduce resistance. So for me, this really goes into, when you're talking about those small wins and building momentum, it goes back to positive psychology. What are your strengths? If you know that you are more routine oriented, then make whatever you're doing throughout the day routine oriented. If you know that you need a little bit of a switch up here and there, but you want to stay disciplined in whatever you're doing, then go ahead and do that. Know how you work, and then you're going to be able to get more disciplined and have those small wins that will also help to reduce the resistance, because that's what can feel so overwhelming sometimes, is the resistance. You're in your head, man, this show is so good, but I know that I should get up and do these dishes. I know that I should get up and take the dog out. I know that I should be doing these things, but man, this couch feels so good. Or, I just want to be able to have, something like you were mentioning, snacking. I want to be able to have this snack, but it's not getting me closer to my goals.
No, that's facts. And I even think about too, the knowing yourself, like you said. Like I'm a morning person, so I got to get my workout in the morning. Otherwise, just as the day goes on, it typically doesn't happen.
That's also when you have the most energy, right? So it's knowing yourself that, yes, you're a morning person, but you have the most energy when you're in the morning. When it starts hitting that afternoon time, there's a little bit of a dip there.
Slight dip.
But some ways that you can start building momentum is make your bed every morning.
That's a big one.
That's a big one.
I think that making a bed, I think there's some stats tied to success around people that make their bed.
I'm sure there is. And thank you for bringing that up. But something I will say is, when we first started dating around 22, 23, I honestly would just get out of bed and just keep going. The rest of the house is in order always, but my bed, I never just actually made my bed. And then we started dating, and you were like, hey, whoever is the last person out of the bed needs to make the bed.
It's mandatory.
And I was like, oh, okay.
Like the bed being unmade to me is just like,
it gives a little chaos. Like it does.
I literally feel like, what's going on in here?
What's happening? And you almost don't even want to go into that room. You're just like, ugh. Every time I get in here, and again, if you talk about building resistance. Like that is a form of resistance because it's just like, it feels like chaos in here. I don't know what's going on.
And little things that we do too, just like when it comes to the bed or your bedroom, like we don't have a TV in our bedroom.
We do not.
And so I think for some,
we did though.
We did at one point. We never watched it.
And we never watched it.
But I think for so many people, it's that idea of like, oh, I'm in my bed, I'm laying in the bed, I'm watching TV. You get comfortable. Like I couldn't imagine waking up in the morning, turning the TV on in my bed.
I'm not.
You might not get up.
I'm not moving.
I mean, especially if you get a good show going.
Oh.
You hit a streak. Oh, like I didn't get out of bed.
Not getting out of bed.
But if that routine is like, I'm gonna get out of bed, I'm gonna do this process, and it doesn't make getting out of bed easier. It's just the process. You get stronger over time.
That muscle you're
building, and like you said, the micro habits, because now when you wake up and you remember that feeling of yesterday, I got up, got my routine, got active, like I felt like I got so much more done in my day, or I got more accomplished. You start to look forward to that feeling and that excitement even more than the comfort of like, ooh, the bed is soft right now, or it's comfortable, or I could lay here another hour or two, or push my alarm back.
Yes. And a couple of other ways that you can do that too, adding to what you said is, I am going to do a 10-minute walk after meals, right? That's something that we always preach too, is just being able to also just get out in nature is something too. But whatever that micro habit looks like for you, we also like to do daily journaling, right? That can be just 5 minutes, right? We don't need to put in a time that is like, I'm going to do this for 30 minutes, an hour. If you do not have that time, do not set that goal for yourself. But everyone usually has about 5 minutes, right? Like I can do something for 5 minutes.
I appreciate that you said that too, because I remember we watched, like a mastermind, someone on YouTube, and they're like, I meditate for an hour. I do this for another hour. I'm like, where are these hours coming from?
Where are the hours coming from? I got things to do.
So, but to your point, 5 minutes, like the routine of my power hour and 5 minutes being meditation, 5 or 10 minutes being journaling, like it's a micro habit, but it makes such a big difference of setting the intention for the day, setting yourself up for success, that it just starts to really stack up.
Yes.
And now you've built a routine, you built a habit. Now other people start to notice maybe some of the differences, and you start to really build momentum. Absolutely.
And let's go back to even Kobe Bryant. He was talking about mama mentality. Yeah. And one thing that he always does when he wakes up is 10 minutes of complete silence and meditation. And he said that really sets the tone for his day. One thing you will always hear us say, even in previous episodes, is you want to be the thermostat and not the thermometer. That's something that's so critical too when you're talking about building these micro habits, because you're building that muscle to where the resistance doesn't seem as strong anymore. Like it's almost very similar if you've worked out with resistance bands and you start at the lowest and you're just like, okay, like I can do this. But as you go up in resistance, it does seem to get harder, but yet you've been working on it for so long that when you get to the highest resistance, it's not as hard anymore.
Yeah, it kind of reminds you of almost like doing an exercise, a push-up or a pull-up or whatever. It's like that first time you got in there, you maybe couldn't do one.
Right.
Like I couldn't even get the pull-up. I couldn't do it all the way pushed up. I had to fall down. And then you're like, wait, I did a set of 5, or I did 3, or I did 10. And you can remember how far you progressed. But now it's not that it's gotten easier. It feels easier because you've built up that habit and routine.
And really what you're doing is you're building trust with yourself.
Yeah.
I know that I can do this because I've done it. And I've set the intention of building these micro habits and sticking to them. So now that muscle that we're talking about with discipline, I'm building up, and I trust myself now that, oh no, I know that even if I go on vacation, I trust my routine or I trust my micro habits because I built up that strength. So now let's get into something that you kind of mentioned throughout the beginning of this episode, and that's anchoring discipline to your identity. Mm-hmm. So for example, let's say that, I would love to be a morning person. That would be so wonderful if I could wake up in the morning. I want to wake up early. Reframe that and say, I'm the kind of person who honors my mornings, right? So now there's a shift in the mindset of I'm using affirmations that align with my future self. And so therefore it's those I am statements, and I am the kind of person that does this. I will do this. When you start talking like that, it builds that strength. It builds that muscle. It builds that trust. And I think that's really key when we talk about, anchoring discipline to your identity.
Yeah, I think that's such a great point. And I think too, people need to meet themselves where they're at. So if you know that you're a nighttime
Amen.
person, don't try to put the 4 a.m. or 5 a.m. workout on your calendar. Instead, like I've got some friends of mine that train at night. Man, I just finished a workout. It's 11 p.m.
I know.
They're like, man, the family's asleep. Everything is done. I can just focus out on my workout from 10 or 11 to midnight or whatever. I'm like, wow. But
good for you.
Good for you.
But you know yourself.
But you know yourself, and you know that maybe you only need 7 hours of sleep or 6 hours or whatever, and you can get up, or you sleep in a little bit because you did that late night workout. It's just better to build your habits and routine. So know yourself to that point as well.
Yes. And that almost goes back to I am statements, right? In that affirmations, that this is the future person that I want to be. So I'm going to speak as that future person. Yeah. I think that's very key. So after this, it's also create an environment that supports focus. We live in a day and age of distractions. I mean, it's constant. It's coming from everywhere. Just simply being on your phone and the amount of notifications that you can get from the amount of apps that we all have on our phones, it can be not only so overwhelming, but it can really be a paralysis by analysis, right? So you want to be able to foster an environment that should help you and not tempt you, right? So just like we said, even with our phones, set your phone to D&D during focus hours, right?
Do not disturb.
Do not disturb. I think that's really key when it comes to our phones. Like that is becoming an addiction. Same with even TV, right? Like electronics are becoming an addiction for us. I think also going to water, journaling, workout gear, making that visible so that like that's going to help to support your focus. But it's also creating an environment for that.
Yeah, the preparation. I mean, I think it gets so overlooked how much you can set yourself up for success by preparing. Right?
Yes.
Like even just being able to say, like, I literally laid out my workout clothes for tomorrow. The shirt, the shorts, the shoes, it's like in the bag. It's sitting out so I can just put it on. Or my work shirts for the week. Like I already have them on the hanger, ready to roll. So now you're not digging through the laundry trying to find your work shirt. Or you're not running.
You feel frantic.
Of course, right? But how much better do you feel prepared in your routine if you are prepped before? Or even just looking at, I know you mentioned the journaling, but like I even love that we are looking out ahead at like the week, and we have a shared like a physical written calendar that we're writing things on. So it's like, hey, remember dentist appointment on Wednesday. Hey, we've got this coming up this week, and being able to game plan for it, because so often I feel like when you're kind of like catching things that are coming at you, you definitely end up being more so that the thermostat. You end up being the thermometer, not the thermostat.
Life comes at you fast. And one thing that I really appreciate, us both being athletes too, and just having that type of mentality, is when we were watching David Beckham's documentary on Netflix. And what I really love that he did was he had a clothing rack separate from his closet, and he had these little circles where he just put it's something that you can hang on to the rod, but it says like Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday across the board. He lays out all of his clothes for that entire week. So now he's not trying to figure out, what am I going to wear? Because I feel like for most of us, especially women, it's like, oh, what am I going to wear? What heels, or, what's my outfit? And something that we even do on Sundays, again, discipline, is we know that we're going to work out for the week. So let's have all of our workout gear. Let's have our socks. Let's have our sneakers. We're going to have our backpacks by the door. It's going to have our headphones, make sure the Nimble is, which is a
recovery
massage gun. Have that charged and ready to go. I'm going to fill up my water, right? But it's having that discipline to do that. And you only really have to carve out like certain amounts of time, and then you'll get more efficient as you go.
100%.
Something else, too, that I really like when you talk about creating an environment that supports focus is unfollow distractions on social media.
What did they say? We get is it 30,000 or 60,000 thoughts a day?
It's up to 40,000 thoughts a day.
Up to 40,000 thoughts a day. So if you think about how many thoughts that are coming at you, if there are things that are negative or, drawing you back, right? Or just sometimes even it can be things that you have to unfollow, like the news.
Oh, man.
Like, man, it can be so much. And it's like,
Yikes.
This is negative. It's this. And you want to be aware of what's going on, but you also don't want to live in fear or fury, because it's like, this is what's next, or this is what happened to my community, or another negative. And it's always such a lot of times bad news or bad perspectives, that it's easy to stay in that mindset.
Right. And that even goes back to what we said about motivation, right? Motivation's tied to your mood, energy, and environment. And if it's constant with the news that it's going to be negative, like you said, or just not something that's really empowering you or making you feel like I want to be disciplined, right? It's sometimes you can just feel like I want to just lay in bed and eat chocolate and binge a show, you know? So I absolutely agree with you there. After that, you want to track your progress. Something we always say is that it's progress over perfection. Discipline doesn't mean that you're never going to mess up either. I think that's something that's very important, because one thing that we even heard with people that were, trying to get back into the gym or trying to start a new routine, as soon as they either mess up or like miss a day, it's just like, well, kind of whatever. I'm going to go off the rails.
Throw the goals into the wind.
Yeah, I'm going to go off the rails. So what it really means is discipline. It means that you're going to get back up, but you're going to get back up faster because you've been strengthening that muscle with some of the tips that we've talked about. So some of the ways that you can do that is through habit tracking apps. I know something for us too, although it's not like habit tracking, we really like the reminders app that's in our phone, where you can also remind yourself of a habit. So if that's, I need to drink more water, or I need to get active, or I have to even, pick up the kids at this certain time. Like, those are all habits that are happening on a daily basis.
And another habit tracker that we both have them on, is our Apple Watches.
Yes.
And so, we get the reminder, we share our activity. So I'll be able to respond when it's like, Deanna just finished a workout.
Yeah.
She just finished a HIIT training. And I'm like, dang, go girl, I see you. Right. But like being able to have that reminder, or it's like, hey, Kurt, reminder, stand up. And I know some people are like, man, those watches, like, I wear other stuff, but for us, just being able to have that, like, I literally feel a little bit naked without my watch on.
Yes.
Like, if I go to the gym, I still burn calories. I still got to work out. But when I don't see my watch,
did it count?
Did it count? Like, did it count? It's not on my tracker. I can't see my heart rate and this, and like, all of that has become such a part of our routine. And it doesn't need to be an Apple Watch. It can be a Fitbit, a Whoop, or whatever. Yes. But just being able to have that, or a ring, like, to have that accountability, it does make a difference to be able to track your metrics and see how you're doing.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think also that's a great way, to your point, to celebrate your streaks and your milestones, right? I know even for us, we have 2 apps on our phone that we really enjoy. Number one is the I Am Affirmations app, and it will literally tell you, like, you'll get a notification of, hey, you're on a 3-day streak, and you're like, yes, I did it. Like, you just celebrating those wins. And then also when it comes to the Bible app for us both too, right? That's
YouVersion.
So the YouVersion Bible app is incredible for us, and they give you the streaks and the milestones and how long you've been in the Bible app for. That's something for us. It's a little bit of that boost of yes, like, you're doing a great job, keep it up, and you're strengthening that muscle.
How long did it take you to find some of these examples and like some of these, because it takes time, right? But I'm thinking about that person that's on the couch right now that's trying to figure out, like, step one, right? Okay, I make my bed, but what else? Like, what did your journey or progress look like when it came to just finding out some of these different, like, habits, routines, like things to add in, things maybe to take out?
Well, full transparency, I think when you are an athlete, there is a certain type of discipline that you have to have, especially if you want to be great. And so it did start from there, but then as, you get older and life starts happening and, you have more responsibilities in those things, you have to adjust. So one thing for us that has always been a constant habit is making sure that we get into the gym. That is a constant for us. I think something that we've incorporated the past few years is like the importance of our morning routine. Yeah. And that's where we add in that 5 minutes of journaling, 10 minutes of reading, making sure that we are opening our Bible app every day, making sure that we're saying our I am statements in the mirror, right? Those are just little habits that we've been able to build over time. And you also find out what works for you. Just because I'm saying something that works for me may not work for you. And so again, this goes back to knowing yourself, knowing what you need. And if you are not, I would say that we are more disciplined than most, but this also started very young, I think, for for at least me, I can speak for myself. Discipline started very young. As having two parents that were collegiate athletes, there's a way that, you know, things are ran and things are done. And so it really just depends on you, what works best for you. And then don't be afraid to adjust. Don't be, you know, upset if something doesn't work out for you. And it's like, God, but it worked out for them. Like, why is it not working out for me? Is something wrong with me? It's not any of that. It's just that this may not work for you. And that's okay.
Yeah, no, I really appreciate you sharing that too, because as I think
What about you?
well, one of the things you touched on, probably the biggest one, which was the power hour, adding into journaling, because I would write down my goals, even going back, but I got away from that a little bit, right? It was very sports focused. Like, this is my sports goal. But then once I reached my goal of being a D1 athlete and accomplishing my goals in football, then it was like, okay, what now? Now what? Am I writing down? So now being able to be in a space where I'm writing down my goals for life, my goals for marriage, my goals for business. But what's so exciting, and this is going to be something that can really hopefully bless somebody that's listening, is once you create the routine and implement some of these habits, you start to see you're getting green lights. You start hitting these goals. Yes. You start to realize, like, wait, 90% of the things I wrote down, I achieved.
Yes.
I got accomplished. And that makes you write down the next set of goals for the next month or the next quarter. And you start to build that momentum, because once you start winning and you get that feeling, it's infectious. Like, you want, you start to chase it in a good way.
No, you're absolutely correct. And to your point, right, celebrating the milestones and celebrating how far you've come. I know even for us, there's times where we've looked back at previous years and those goals, even our vision boards. Crazy. And we're just like, oh my gosh, like, we accomplished that. We did that. We literally put in the work to be able to do that. And it takes time. So I think just giving yourself that grace is another big key here. So something else that we have here is create a non-negotiable 3 list. So what that means is these are 3 daily habits you commit to no matter what. So we've mentioned a little bit about us with our power hour and making sure that we're looking at the Bible app, our I am statements, as well as like exercise for us. Yeah. And then once you build those habits and they are a part of your daily routine, then start building your next 3, right? And then your next 3, and just making it more digestible, where it's not like I have all of these goals and I want to be disciplined in all these areas. It's like, well, first off, let's just focus in one area, build your non-negotiables there, and then add the other areas to it so that you don't get that paralysis by analysis or just feeling overwhelmed.
Progress is a process.
Amen. So that can look like drinking water, praying, reflecting for 5 minutes. And what it's doing is that it's building consistency and it's building confidence. And that's one thing we even noticed when we were doing, our boot camp days and custom meal plans, all of that. We saw the people that were being the most consistent and coming often, they are seeing results and their confidence. We had some people that their confidence, boy, it's like you switched up on us. You're coming in here with like your shoulders back, your head held high, and it looks like you are in a better space.
You'll outlast 60% of people just by showing up.
Just by showing up.
If you literally just show up every day, you're gonna already be like 60%. And then it starts to become the fine tuning, the little things, right? The little adjustments. And it makes such a big difference when you invest into yourself and really pour in on those things. And even for somebody that may be thinking about on the faith side, how do I connect more maybe with prayer or faith? Or it could be as simple as just blessing your food.
Amen.
Literally, I'm about to eat. Let me just thank God for this meal. Someone else doesn't have any food. It's maybe not fresh, or they're not having an opportunity to eat today. Man, thank you so much for this meal. And that literally could be the start right there, not overthinking it. But those little habits, if you ate 2 or 3 times today or maybe more, those could be 2 or 3 prayers that you had in one day that help build that habit.
And interesting enough, I something we always talk about when it comes to Couply Fit, it's about accountability, motivation, and connection. So if you are working on your discipline, but you know somebody that is disciplined, maybe it's asking them to just, help hold you accountable a little bit and say like, hey, I'm struggling in these areas. Would you be open to holding me accountable or supporting me in these areas? And it may start where, we're both going to meet up at this one park, or you're going to come to my house and we're going to go for a walk, right? Whatever that kind of looks like for you. And then that becomes a daily habit and a daily routine. And then you're going to be very surprised at when you don't do it, you feel it. Right? Like it's just like when you don't train a certain muscle group for a long time or for some time and you get back into training it, you're like, oh my gosh, this weight is heavy. These, everything is feeling like it's a little bit more resistance like we were talking about earlier. So what we want to do is we want to be able to give you some resources. We give you the actionable steps and some things that you can do, but here are some resources. This first book is actually one of Kurt's favorite. He was gifted this by an incredible female leader here in Arizona. It's called Can't Hurt Me by David Goggins.
Man.
Can you tell me a little bit about that?
I mean, it's really powerful. You start talking about making changes, being at a point where, David Goggins was at a low point in his life. He's talking about his transformation from, spraying for cockroaches to being a Marine and what it takes, how many times he failed. And I
ultimate
think
discipline.
The ultimate discipline, right? When you start talking about, he's like, I didn't know how to swim. I had trouble reading, learning. I had he was over 300 pounds and had to lose basically 100 pounds to become a Marine. Like there were so many elements. But what I love about his book and what he's talking about with Can't Hurt Me, he's not using any excuses. We all have had things that have happened and maybe, situations or circumstances that we could use as a crutch. We could say, you know what, that's why I'm not going to do it. Or that's why I'm not successful. Or they're the reason.
Yes.
What do they say? 70% of people say it's a coach or an injury why they didn't go to the pros.
Come on now.
So everybody feels like it was something else, right? I was almost there.
Yes.
But being able to read that gives a ton of inspiration and motivation. But also you hear about the little habits and the discipline that David created to be able to, in his mind, be like almost invincible or be the person that he wanted to become. And it's never too late to reinvent yourself.
Right.
Because I think so often people feel like, no, like I'm
past.
I'm quiet, or I'm not the leader, or I'm not the person that raises their hand and steps up to the front. No, you can be whoever you want to be. You can make that change. You can decide. It takes discipline. It takes stepping outside your comfort zone. It takes not caring what other people say about you or think about you, because like you're stepping outside of maybe what your norm used to be.
And this actually goes into one of my favorite podcasts, which is the Mel Robbins podcast. And, within this last year, she's really mentioned the let them theory. Let them think what they want to think. Let them talk about you. Let them just be them, because that is on them and not on you. And that shouldn't affect you, and you shouldn't take it personally. Now, again, does that take time to get to that point? Absolutely. But the more that you're able to tap into some of these tools and resources that help you get to that next level, the better off that you're going to be able to strengthen that muscle.
And I just want to say, too, the two things that I love that we mentioned, mine was a book with Can't Hurt Me. Yours is a podcast. However you like to learn,
yes,
the key is being a lifelong learner and continuing to gather information, learn, soak it in, whatever form that is, reading, audio book, right, podcast, video, doing what you're doing by listening to us right now. This is a part of that step to being a better version of you.
Amen. I love that. Another book is Atomic Habits by James Clear. We've heard really great things about that book. I definitely recommend you check that out. A journal that we actually use is a Life in Apples journal. Love it.
Highly recommend.
Highly, highly, highly recommend. Not too expensive. The journal comes in multiple colors, and it really allows you to set your intentions for 3 months. And you can really lay out a quarter of what you want to do when it comes to your goals, your daily eating habits, as well as like what you want to accomplish, and then also what you're grateful for too. We always talk about gratitude, and I think discipline and gratitude also go hand in hand, because you can be grateful for the steps that you're making and the milestones that you've reached, because it is something where, a lot of people don't. And so if you are, then you give yourself a pat on the back. Next after that is, it's kind of a journal, but it's a little, or book, however you want to look at it, but a prayer book or even a prayer closet. And if you don't know what a prayer closet is, that is literally like an area in your closet, or just a area that you can kind of close the door. And some people will just pray in their closet. Some people will put up Bible verses, whatever is going to help you be disciplined. And you can also, in the Bible app, you can type in discipline, and there will be Bible verses that come out about, hey, this is what the Bible says about discipline. But then there's also those small micro books too, that you can also take a peek at, that will also talk about discipline as well.
Yeah, that prayer closet is major. I mean, there's so many things that happen, so many situations, things that go on. And sometimes, and sometimes the prayer closet too isn't just for the negative things. Sometimes it's just rejoicing and having gratitude
Amen.
and thanking God for making it, for being here, for maybe overcoming. I mean, one of the things that I think about, I don't talk about this enough or much at all, but you know this, but I've been in a couple like really serious accidents, like cars
Yes.
completely totaled.
Yes.
And then I'll see an accident and it's like someone died, hundreds of thousands of people pass away from car accidents. And I'm like, I wasn't that person. Man, how grateful am I that like I was okay, and not taking that for granted.
Absolutely. I think that's very key to your point. So now we're going to jump into some reflection questions, which are a great way to also get a temperature on your discipline. So the first one is, when was the last time I followed through even when I didn't feel like it?
Yesterday. I was ready to kind of take a personal day a little bit. Like, man, I don't necessarily want a 8 a.m. meeting. Do I want to go to the gym? But I literally, by following through, there was a lot of fruitful conversations. It was great progress. I actually received some really strong kudos and things like that. But if I would have taken that day and I wouldn't have shown up,
right.
I would have actually blocked a blessing where, like, man, I got some great news.
Yes.
So I think that's really big.
Yeah, that's huge. Another question you can ask is, what would change if I prioritize discipline over mood?
That's a big one, because so often the mood, I mean, your mood can just change with the, I mean,
It's
if it goes from sunny to rainy outside, mood can go from happy
oh my
to
gosh,
a little bit sad.
Instantly, for me at least.
Right now.
Oh, cue the hot cocoa, throw a movie on,
We're off
give
today.
me a blanket, we're off today.
There's so many times when I was in Seattle at University of Washington, rainy day,
gosh.
I'm like, I don't know if I'm going to class today. Do not recommend not going to class. You do want to go, but how do you overcome that mood or the environment that you're in shifting and still staying on track?
You know what? That's actually a key way of actually testing your discipline, is when you do go to college. Woo! When everything is on you now, like your parents are not on you every day to tell you to go to class, to do your homework, to, not party.
You are your own accountability.
You are your own accountability. And that's when discipline is key. And I remember something that I always used to say to myself is, what are my priorities? My priority is to go to class. My priority is to do my homework. My priority is to graduate. Those were the three things that I always went back on. No matter what I was doing, I always was just like, those are the three things I need to do. I worked full-time in college, so that was obviously another one too. Make sure that you whatever you do, you need to make it to your job so that you can get this money.
And to that point, having, for you, right, it was, you're working full-time, you're paying for school. If you don't show up and put that time in and work, like, you don't pay the rent. Like, you don't, like, there's a consequence to not having the discipline.
Yes.
For me in college, same thing, playing college football. If I don't have the discipline, if I don't show up early for practice, stay late, go to the weight room, etc., there's thousands of people that want my spot.
That's right.
Thousands.
That's right.
That want your position, that want your job, that want your role, your title, they want your locker, right? And so how do you, in not letting that haunt you or give you like paralysis or fear, but more so letting that drive you, that this is why I have to show up. This is why I have to be disciplined. This is why I've got to be focused, because there's literally someone else that has an edge, or that's maybe hungrier than you, or in a worse situation, that's literally trying to come for your spot.
100%. You're right. Last question is, who do I become when I stay consistent with small promises?
I become the best version of myself.
Amen.
And it's hard, it's not easy, But like, I even think about Tom Brady's like TB12 and,
Yes.
he's eating avocados and,
Mamba mentality.
right. People talk about it, but when you start talking about the habits and what it takes
to do it
and that mama mentality, I'm reading a book with Kobe right now. And he's like, I would go out with players and I'll hang out with them and we'll go out till 2, 3 in the morning. But then I wake them up at 5 a.m. and say, now you got to come hang with me. And we're about this business and and that's when people realize like, wait, what is that mama mentality? We can do this, but we also have to have the discipline to take care of business. And I think that's where you kind of separate the mediocre from the high achievers.
Yes. And I think also when we talk about staying consistent with the small promises, these are promises you're making to yourself. This goes back to the self-respect earlier, right? And really being able to focus on the fact that I don't want to let myself down. Actually, like I want to your point, be the best version of myself. The small promises are going to help me get there. Yeah. And being disciplined is going to ultimately be the way that I get to accomplish those small promises to myself.
Absolutely. And the small promises unlock big results.
They do.
Big results. You'll see it stack up in the little habits, the little things. You start to climb mountains. You
really do. And then you see not only do you change, but you start seeing your environment to change, right? If you're a parent and you're making those small promises to yourself and you're staying consistent and you're following through, that's the example you're setting for your kids. So now they're going to emulate what you're doing. And I think that's also when we talk about like creating that next generation, that's one way to do it, is by being the version of the future self that you want to see, but also see for your kids as well.
Yeah, it's hard to be what we don't see.
Amen.
So if you want to create that habit, or you want, I even read some stats about how many, kids get different things from their fathers. And I'm like, man,
yes,
become a father and they're like, I want to be that good example. You sent that to, I want to be that good example, but it starts now with the daily habits and the routine.
And so what you're talking about is there have now been new studies that have said that children's confidence is tied to the male's interaction with their kids. And I thought that was just so powerful that, when we're just talking about confidence and self-respect and being able to stay consistent in those things, it can be really tied to your home environment.
And it's a big responsibility, right? But again, instead of worrying about the big macro, yes, it's the micro habits. It's the little things. It's what you're doing right now by listening and subscribing that makes the difference to stay on that progress over perfection path.
Absolutely. Absolutely. So quickly to go over just what we talked about, we are talking about discipline and how, there is a reason why motivation is fleeting and why motivation is even overrated, what discipline really means, how to build discipline step by step. And then lastly is some resources and then those reflection questions. Take your journal out and think about those 3 questions that we just asked and really take the 10 minutes and write it out. And who is your future self? Write out everything. What do you want to look like? Who do you want to be? What are the values you want to set, right? And really set out who you want your future self to be, and then set those step-by-step, small, actionable habits to be able to get you there.
Love that.
Yes. Thank you so much, Coupley Fit fam, for watching on YouTube. Please like and subscribe. And if not, then follow us on social media at Coupley Fit, COUPLEYFIT. Bye.